the Online Advertising and Social Media Transparency Bill 2017, and I call on Deputy James Lawless to move for leave to introduce. Deputy Lawless.
Thank you, I move that leave be given to introduce a bill entitled Social Media and Online Advertising Transparency Bill 2017. Online media and social media are at least as important and influential as traditional media in today's discourse and political debate, yet the same norms of behaviours, conventions and practices are only beginning to emerge. Having been on Twitter myself since 2008, I am very familiar with the cut and thrust of online political debate. However, I also recognise the strengths of the platform, citizen journalism and wider engagement, but the challenges for accuracy, integrity and the truth. Identification and verification is far more difficult online, and many actors may not be who they appear to be. False flag accounts and mass orchestrated political campaigns which do not disclose their true purpose defraud us all and threaten our hard-won democracy. We have all heard of fake news and even alternative facts. But Rocknaharan and the European Convention of Human Rights defend the right to free speech, which includes the right to shock, offend and disturb. But it does not include a right to distort, conceal and defraud the electorate, particularly when attempted in a systematic, large-scale way. We saw evidence in US congressional hearings during the last presidential election of what is alleged to have been a widespread organised attempt at what amounts to voter fraud on social media. Congressional hearings heard how 126 million US Facebook users were served content masquerading as local campaign websites, but allegedly emanating from Russia. We have also seen reports of similar tactics emerging during the recent Brexit debates, and there is evidence that such activity is gathering pace here. Many well-known figures, including broadcasters and politicians, have seen their followings multiply in recent months by bots or unidentified accounts, presumably ahead of the next pending election or referendum. It is not terribly difficult to game these platforms by generating what is called fake organic, where multiple users pretend to make a post more popular than it really is by liking, retweeting or multiplying. There's a multiplier effect, which is quite easy to control if one knows what one is doing. These not only influence public opinion, but can form an echo chamber, reinforcing a particular view to decision makers, indeed to broadcasters, and falsely representing the public mood. In case we think that we are immune in this jurisdiction, let us remember that 6 years ago, which is an eternity in politics and an eternity in technology, in the 2011 presidential election, the Frontline programme saw an acrimonious debacle which led to much recrimination and arguably altered the course of the Irish presidential campaign. It is too late afterwards when the damage has been done. We have also seen the rise of online advertising, again an extremely useful and progressive tool, which most practising politicians, I imagine, in this House, including myself, use regularly, but without the checks and balances that normal traditional online political advertising is subjected to. If an anonymous organisation was to erect 1,000 posters in any village or town in Ireland, without a hint as to who funded them or who sponsored them or who published them, they would rightly be in breach of the Electoral Acts. They would be subject to a civil investigation and very possibly to the Director of Public Prosecutions. However, the exact same thing can be done online in an instant with practically no safeguards. In fact, it would be possible right now for an international lobby group to purchase thousands of euro worth of ads on online social media and run advertising under a series of false flag accounts. This is clearly an affront to our democratic process. It is not yet illegal, but is certainly dishonest. As we approach a busy period of referenda and elections, while we welcome the opportunities for wider debate and citizen engagement, we must ensure a robustness of content, a safeguarding of our integrity and protect our democracy against those who would subvert it in organised, systematic and sinister ways. Finally, the bill recognises the large corpus of law that emanates from decades of referenda, in particular the McKenna judgments, which say that public money cannot be used to sway either side in an electoral contest. The state is strictly neutral, and this prohibition is restated in this legislation. The proposed measures are ideologically neutral. They apply equally to the left and to the right. Transparency takes no sides in electoral contests. It merely requires a standard of disclosure so that we know those who seek to influence our electoral outcomes are who they claim to be. In terms of the specifics of the bill, it contains a number of definitions, including the definition of political advertising as one which seeks to direct the outcome of a referendum, an election, to increase the popularity of a candidate for office or of a political party, to influence the outcome of an industrial dispute, or to influence a vote before the Oireachtas. It contains a number of offences for failure to disclose the publisher or source of that information, and it contains a requirement to carry a transparency notice along with any online ads, in the same manner as the existing literature, posters, paraphernalia already requires in the traditional world. Finally, it also includes an offence of a bot, that has multiple fake accounts masquerading as individual entities, but actually deliberately controlled by a single user or a single organisation to perpetrate political fraud. To close in the words of John Keats, beauty is truth, truth is beauty. I hope this bill will enjoy cross-party support. I look forward to the wider debate, and thank you, Ken Corder, for leave to introduce.
Is the bill being opposed? No, the bill is not being opposed. Therefore, the motion for leave to introduce is agreed. Can I ask Deputy Lawless to move that the second stage be taken in private member's time?
I move the second stage be taken in private member's time.
Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much.